Next one we're going to talk about is lower cross syndrome. Lower cross syndrome, it does have a very characteristic posture. So typically you look like this, head is slightly forward, round the shoulder, deep press sternum again, increase lumbar curve, or it's called lordosis in this case, and then forward sway of the, let me just try to reproduce this. You get this, yeah, forward sway. I'm going to rewind. Okay, so next one we're going to talk about is lower cross syndrome. So this is characterized by posture that looks like this. Head is forward, shoulders rounded, deep press sternum, increased lumbar curve, forward sway of the upper femur. So this is more forward like this. Usually people end up looking like this. It's very hard for me to reproduce this posture. Let me try again. So here, here, somewhat like that. So lower cross syndrome, when you're looking at a particular client that's in front of you for the first time, you're doing something called a passive postural assessment. When they come in, because this is a very characteristic pattern that I see with clients, you'll be able to quickly note where, if they have it or not, and where to look. So we're going to focus on lower cross syndrome, so we're going to focus on the hip area. So typically, this results from people sitting for too long, or some other reasons, like maybe foot problem, but that's outside the scope of this course. So typically when you sit for too long, these muscles in the front of the hip, they become very short. So when you try to stand up, they won't let go. So in the front of the hip, again, we're going to start with tightness this time. I think it's a little bit easier to understand. So you're going to go with tight hip, your hip flexors here, that flex the knee, or sorry, the hip. They become very tight. Now we're going to go to the back, more towards the lower back. So thoracolumbar extensors. So thorax, lumbar, lower back extensors brings the torso back. So if I were to stand like this, if I have tight hips, if I were to stand, nobody can walk like this or stand like this for an extended period of time. So what happens is this won't let go. I'll end up doing this and overarching my lower back. So you get this really curved lower back effect. And then, so it's tight here and also tight here in a diagonal pathway. Where is it weak? So you might see this on male or female. They get this really pronounced low back. It looks as though they have a big butt, but then when you look at the front, they get this big rounded stomach. Okay? Because these are so tight. Why is that? Because these are so tight, the abs can't contract and hold the hips in a neutral position. So the abs are lengthened and they're weak. Now we're going to go to the opposite back side. So the glutes, these are also lengthened. So these are also going to be weak. So that's lower cross syndrome. So upper cross syndrome, lower cross syndrome, know the tightness, weakness, and how to look for that when you have a new client. When you take on new clients, you do have to assess them, and you have to know what characteristics you see and their resting posture when they're sitting, so that when we go to train them, they don't get injured, and we do help them improve their physical fitness progress.